Hey, this is Stan Prochowski, and hey, this is the Ask Stan show. Today is Thursday, May the 14th. Uh, you know, month and a half into lockdown or whatever we call it. So, um, starting a little early today, 11:30. So we're going to get going a little early. So if you can hear me, or you get the notification that I'm live, come on in, ask me a question. That's what this is for. Was on the radio this morning, 8:30 on the bonus hour. Talked about something. I want to talk about the same thing today a little bit because I got a couple calls about it, so I thought I'd share it. First of all, I've got my webinars coming up today. The title of my webinar is called "Don't How to Keep from Going Broke in Long-Term Healthcare," i.e., the nursing home. So that's the topic of today's seminar, which is really in webinar format because we're not doing the in-person live events just yet. But the webinars today are at twice at 12 noon Central Time and at 6 p.m. If you want to attend that, I'm going to talk a little bit about it here on the Ask Stan show, but if you want to attend that, call my office, 363-7222, or right here on the Facebook, there's a link you can click. And what it does is it's a place you have to give an email, and we'll send you the link so that you can attend the webinar. You can just click on it, and there we are. It takes you right to go to webinar and listen to it. I think it'll be a real eye-opener. One thing I wanted to bring up was, with this mess, this pandemic that's going on, there's been a lot of activity or, not good activity coming out of nursing homes and people that are suffering in nursing homes. And I've seen where some of them are trying to implement new procedures and new standards to control something like this in the future, or to control it for the next several months before this thing is completely eradicated. And the thing that struck me that came out of it, I don't have any doubt that technology and the manpower they can throw at it will do that. What it's going to do, and they're making no bones about it, it's going to almost double the cost. Now, we all know that the cost of long-term care and cost of nursing homes is already catastrophic. I mean, it's already beyond the means of 99.8% of us to actually pay it. So, we're going to increase, if it's going to increase drastically because of this, I mean, that just makes what we talk about at the webinar even more relevant, right? So here's what I want you to do. Here's a good way to think about what I'm talking about when I talk about not going broke with the nursing home. So I want you to do a little exercise with me. What I'd like you to do is take a piece of paper, pencil, write down 3 things, maybe 5 if you can come up with 5. Write down 3 things that to you are the most important things in your life. Now, I'm not talking about dollar value necessarily, but that can, of course, be it if that's what concerns you. Write down things, and I'm going to suggest some things. I've already done it, but I'm going to suggest some things that might be on that list, like my home, okay, the house that we've lived in for years, the family home, or perhaps the family farm, okay, which could be a fair amount of acreage, that sort of thing. Perhaps a family business. How about maybe you have a vacation home, or something like that. How about stocks that you own, or money in the bank, or a retirement account, or coin collection, or something that you value you highly value as all the things in your life. Now, I'm not talking about the love of my wife and stuff like that. No, I'm talking about. I mean, I know I get it. That's certainly something that's very valuable to you. But that's not what I'm referring to. I'm thinking a little more towards material, tangible property kind of sort of value. So write all that down, or make a mental note. And then what I want you to do is I want you to look at that list, stare at it, and take your pencil and start to draw lines through the things that you think you could do, that you could stand to lose. Okay? Like the family farm. It's been in the farm all your life, or maybe even your father's life, and passed to you, and you want to pass to the children, whatever. If you can live without that, if you can lose that and you'll be okay with it, draw a line through it. And anything else on that list, your car or your family business, or, well, I won't spend too much time on it, but I'm going to just cut to the chase, and that is, on my list, I had 5 things on my list. There was not a single thing that I really was too happy about drawing a line through. One of them was my home. I built my own home. I spent 6 years building it. It's a one-man show. I drove every nail. I cut every board. I made it just the way I want it. I want to pass it on down to my children. That's important to me. I do not want to lose that under any circumstances. I want that to go to them. That was the whole reason I built it. If I didn't want it to go to them, if it wasn't special, I just bought one. But I'm willing to bet your list was the same thing. So that's what we're talking about at these webinars. Everything you own is exposed. It is at risk should you have to go to the nursing home. Now, not all of us are going to go to long-term care. Not all of us. But the thing is, you don't know. Remember the example I did of the discriminatory healthcare system where you got Joe and John? One has the disease where his Medicare insurance pays for everything, and the other one doesn't, and they don't pay for anything. We don't know what we're going to end up with, and we don't know if we're going to be one of the 7 out of 10 that needs some level of long-term care. So, I'm willing to put out there the 7 out of 10 puts the odds kind of against us. We're only 3 in 10 of us are not going to need long-term care. So, so we don't know if we're going to go, and that's what this is all about. If we do go, why should everything we've worked for our lives be at risk to be taken from us and not given to our heirs? There's some other reasons for that. I talked about it last week on the Ask Stan show, and that is it's not just being taken from you under our filial responsibility laws in Tennessee. It can be taken from your children. They can have to pay for your long-term care. I won't go into that. We did last week, but that's a scary thought. I mean, that's something that's going to rear its ugly head here before too long, especially with the climate we have in politics right now. The more we go towards socialism, the more of this stuff has to be paid for, the more they're going to be looking for means to pay the bill. And that's an excellent way for them to do that. I mean, excellent from a standpoint of being able to pay for it, not so excellent from our standpoint or our children's standpoint, having to get stuck paying it. So in the webinar, if what I say to you makes you think, well, gee, that seems unfair to the nursing home, don't worry about the nursing home. They get paid no matter what. I mean, if you don't pay them, they get paid by Medicaid. So they're not getting not paid. When I say the nursing home, I'm just really referring to the general concept of long-term care. But if you think it's unethical, stick around. Come to my webinar. We talk about that. It's not. Our legislature has done exactly that. They have leveled the playing field for people who get the diseases that Medicare doesn't cover for. That's why they wrote the laws. That's why they made it possible for us to protect our property. I didn't write these laws. We just take advantage of them. If you understand why they did it, it makes sense. We're not trying to get out of paying a just bill. But when you're dealing with an unjust system, there's no issue. It also is like income tax. I talk about that. Hey, when I do my income taxes every year, I pay some people a lot of money to get every deduction and every credit that they can find for me. I'm always willing to pay my taxes, and I'll pay every bit that I owe, but I'm not too crazy about paying more than I owe. Especially now that all my tax dollars are being divvied up, or even now that I spend all that money for Medicaid, now they're going to take everything I own to boot. So, there's nothing unethical about it. Just like you would try to maximize your credits and deductions on income tax, you're trying to maximize your credits and your deductions and get what's coming to you under these Medicare laws or Medicaid laws. So it's 100% ethical. If that's a hang-up of yours, call me, talk to me. We can discuss it. I think what I have to say about it, once I show it to you, I think you'll see it the same way that I do, in the same way, most importantly, that the legislature wants you to see it, which is why they put it in place for you to use. So, like I often say, if the legislature's going to write these rules and they're going to be in favor of us, I say let's go whole hog and get what's coming to us, right? Okay. But anyway, that's what we talk about the webinar. There's a way, a very simple way when you think about it, that you can protect all your property. And even if you don't, make it as long as you need to make it, we can protect almost all your property. There's a way to do it. It's a simple way, but it has to be done now. Thus the word planning. You can't wait the last minute and do it and be effective. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to do it a little bit ahead of time. Get your ducks in a row. So if you're like 55 years old, 65, relatively good health, not knocking on the door of the nursing home, now is the time to do it. There's a couple other reasons why it probably ought to be now too, which, given the posture of politics these days, depending on who gets elected, a lot of this stuff is going to change. So now is a good time because if you get in now, they can never change the law to go backwards. Only they call that ex post facto. They can't change the law today and apply to somebody who did something 2 weeks ago, but they can always change the law and look forward. Okay, so that's another good reason why to get in now. So, all right, anybody posting a question? Don't see any. I'm going to keep it as short as I can today if I don't get any questions, because just in 20 minutes I've got to do this webinar. Like I said, let me go over that again. I'm doing my how to keep from going broke in the nursing home at 12 and at 6 o'clock today. Just call the office, or here on Facebook, you'll see, if you scroll down a video or two, you'll see a link. Click on that, it'll ask for an email. Then we have a link that we can send email to. You click it, it goes to webinar, and then you're in the webinar. Watch it. I think you'll like it. It's a real eye opener. So is that list I just told you to do. If you hadn't done it, make that list. Cross off the things you don't mind losing. Okay, and then you'll kind of see where we're coming from. All right. Well, absent any questions, I didn't keep any from this week. Had a real busy week, and I didn't log any questions. I've got some, but only got about 3 minutes left on my Ask Stan show. So I'm going to wrap it up. If you have questions, and you always do, a lot of you don't hesitate, or you're not very shy about sending them in or asking me if you see me, at the Home Depot or someplace. That's cool. That's what I want. That's the effect I'm going for. Got a question? Flag me down. Walk in the office. Call me up. Ask it. Your decisions are always better when they're informed, and that's what I'm in the business of doing. Okay, that's it for the Ask Stan show today, May 14th. We'll be back on track next Thursday at 12 o'clock for Ask Stan instead of 11:30, but had this other webinar. They were conflicting with each other time-wise. So, all right, well, listen, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. If you watch it later and have a question, post it. I will get back to you. All right, thank you for attending, and we'll see you hopefully at the webinar either at noon or at 6 o'clock today. See you there.